The Uncensored Truth podcast with your brother, oh God, is Sam man. We going in today, man. We having fun in here, man. Uncensored Truth, podcast. But this story right here is a little bit, real serious, man. The Diddy story with Revolt, shout out to Revolt, but it's this the woman who's the CEO of Revolt Television, Roma Khanna. I hope I'm saying her name right. According to a letter sent to Revolt by an ex-employee, who claims that a young, educated black woman, that Khanna openly admitted that she was intimidated, by this black woman. Sam, man, you actually did the story, on Viral Hip Hop News. Shout out to that channel. Talk about, this and, Diddy's response, standing up for this lady. What you think about this whole situation?
Well, okay, so the backstory is this: she's a young, educated black woman. She wants to be known as. She sent a letter to the network's board in which she also alleges that Roma Khanna referred to Meek Mill as a black boy during a brainstorming session. And then she went on to say that the letter alleged that 99% of the 30% of Revolt's workers recently laid off were African American. According to Diddy, however, these reports are inaccurate. Now, Diddy was on the forefront of really defending this woman, Roma Khanna, saying that there's he's priding himself on having women of color, those words in particular, throughout his staff, and just having a variety of ethnicity throughout it. And after a thorough investigation from a private investigator, he sees nothing that she did wrong. This couldn't have possibly happened. And I raised the question of why the fuck couldn't it have happened? Absolutely, it couldn't have happened. Now, we see a lot of people, and we grew up around different cultures, and we often see that, yeah, some people are scared of us. A lot of people are fucking afraid of us. The cops are afraid of us. And I got some slack on that comment when I made that on Viral Hip Hop News. And I got some comments right here that we're going to tap into a minute. But I said that, yeah, it is definitely not far-fetched. I think Diddy might have just pulled the trigger a little too fast on this, coming out and defending her without thoroughly doing proper investigation for himself. We see a channel and we see a platform in Revolt TV where it has the potential of doing some great things in competition with your complexes and your Vlads and your internet media sources throughout your internet. You see different, you see Revolt as one of those main names. But when you look at the content, the things that carry behind it, there's really nothing to compete with. So you have a platform that could do great things, and we see 50 Cent kind of clowning Diddy, and it's funny about well, he needs to take over what he's doing with stars, but it almost makes sense because you have a Revolt TV that strictly kind of throws out music, and people are really looking for content. So you're almost at a standstill when it comes to Revolt TV. Now you throw this and defend her, it just really doesn't look good, man. Like, what's going on? What do you think about it?
Yeah, let me actually read what Diddy actually said. He put a statement out. He said, the story is inaccurate. We are a black owned and operated network, and we have a zero tolerance policy with discrimination of any kind. Revolt is led by a woman of color, mind you, we'll talk about that, who is expected to uphold the same standards that I hold for all of my companies. After an extensive review led by outside counsel, there were no findings of deliberate misconduct. At this time, Roma Khanna will remain CEO of Revolt. Sam, man, what do you think about the statement of Diddy saying Revolt is led by a woman of color?
It's real fickle. And you got to be careful with that. You got to really be careful with your choice of words, because women of color, though, we love all women and all colors. That don't mean black women. That doesn't. That's very, very, very misconstrued. And when you hear women of color, people can offer and attribute that to black, but that does not mean black. And when you write that down in the context of legality, that's not black. So it doesn't protect black. It just doesn't.
So he's saying, so you pretty much saying that's bullshit. Yeah. Pretty much.
It's bullshit.
Right.
It's an easy way to say it's easy. It's an easy way out.
Right.
And it's slowly and it's very scary, but it's what the culture is becoming. It's women of color. It's people of color. It's the ethnicity. Blah 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 blah. And we're trying to slowly just get away from black people. It's almost like people are afraid.
Let me go on though. Let me go on because you might have a little more. He adds regarding the recent restructure. Revolt diversity remains unchanged. We are 67% ethnically diverse, with more than 60% of the senior leadership being women. Any suggestion that any company of mine negatively targets African Americans is absurd and offensive. He's talking to you.
No, he's not, because I talked on Viral Hip Hop News, and I was in defense of Diddy when it came to him being on the forefront of black issues, and I got slack for that as well. And what I meant by that, the forefront of black issues, he was trying to be the NFL owner of the Carolina Panthers, then eventually backed out, saying that they really were culturally insensitive and just really ignorant to a lot of situations that are going on outside the football realm and outside the money that they really aren't paying attention to. He's out here protesting for the deaths of all these young Black innocent lives going on out here. When I'm saying that he's using his platform and using his celebrity to paint a picture and put acknowledgement on issues that are going on within our culture, that's what I mean by he's on the forefront. I'm never defending him saying that Roma Khanna isn't in here doing some fucked up shit, because I kind of firmly believe maybe she is. I think it maybe needs to be looked into deeper. And I also said that white folk and cops are scared. Let me read the comment right now, because shout out to Penial Lens. He said, I'm gonna put this big right up here on the screen right here. This is a propaganda channel, meaning Viral Hip Hop News. You said Diddy is on the forefront of race issues, and you said cops kill Black people because they are scared. Both flat out lies. You are working for the enemy. Okay, great comment. It got my attention. It's right there. You know what I mean? So let's. I think I've already acknowledged the Diddy situation, where I say he was on the forefront of racial issue. He uses his celebrity where you see others ignoring it and puts out issues that need to be talked about. Shout out to Diddy, but I'm not defending him in this Roma Khanna situation. I'm not defending him saying women of color, he deserves the criticism for that. I'm going to put it out there. But let's talk about that cop issue, because I'm going to paint a picture real quick, because we all were kids once. We played football, right? And we grew up in ethnically diverse backgrounds, and so we in neighborhoods. So on your football team, 50% Black and Spanish, 50% white. I think my team was about the same. So when we played different teams, we were cool. But when we went out to Atlantic City, we knew when we went out to Pleasantville, we seen them big ass Black dudes coming across the field, and white bulls were going to be shook to death. They were going to be shook. They were mentally taken out of the game because they seen Black skin, bigger. They already were just programmed to think that Black was scary, Black was a thug, Black was this. That game was over before it even started. Well, those little Bobbies and Billies and Johns, they grew up off that football field being scared of Atlantic City and Pleasantville football players and became our police officers. And that fear eventually turned to hate, eventually turned to envy, eventually turned to, now that I have a gun, fuck you, you can't beat me now, here it is. And that knee-jerk reaction to fear is why you see them shooting down Black kids behind the back, because they're programmed to automatically assume that we are thugs, killers, this, that. And it's the fear that drives it all. If you really want to get down to the nitty-gritty, it's the fear that had us enslaved to begin with. They were curious. They didn't have any idea. Why don't you break that down for us better, oh God, if I have any kind of relevance in this situation? No.
I mean, you broke it down well. I mean, but you know, I would just offer, you know, people to dig into a book, you know, great book, the ISIS Papers, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, because, you know, she was a psychologist, and she went into, the mind, you know, of African Americans and Caucasians, and kind of, you know, she ties everything in. So I would suggest that everybody, you know, definitely, you know, read that book if you like to read. But yeah, you're 100% correct on that. I agree, you know, what you're saying with that. There's definitely a fear and intimidation, you know, factor there. It doesn't mean that every single person is scared, but it's definitely, you know, I think, you know, there's definitely, that's there, you know. And I agree, you know, and about the Revolt, you know, CEO, first, let me say this, right? I think, and I'm a firm believer that you put the best person in the best position possible in your company. Facts. But, you know, if you really standing for, if you really say that you standing for that, I mean, you mean to tell me that you didn't have, you know, a sister, you know what I mean, I couldn't get in that position, you know what I mean? So, I mean, you know, it's your company, people do what they want to do. And I understand that sometimes it might be, you know, we can't play the same game that was played against us, you know, because we know we get discriminated against all the time in this country on every different level, you know. But, you know, that comment when you're talking about, you know, that we have a woman of color running, you know, Revolt, come on, man.
Well, I mean, Roma Khanna, her resume is pretty deep. I think she's a CEO at MGM. She holds other CEO seats within the entertainment realm. So she definitely has a real solid resume behind her. We're not mad at Diddy for hiring a Middle Eastern woman as his CEO. She's doing her job and doing it and running it well.
And she's running it well, though, because we look at what 50 Cent criticized, you know, the company recently.
I mean, we both could talk about it. We both really love what Diddy's doing over there, Black-owned CEO of Revolt TV. We really just love the idea of what's going on. But when we go onto revolttv.com, when we really look for some content from Revolt TV, what do you find? And then a lot of the criticism from Revolt TV is it's a strictly 24/7 musically streamed kind of channel, and no one wants to watch music 24/7. You need kind of in the wave that we're in and the kind of age that we're in, when you're seeing the podcast,
right,
and you're seeing the different kind of entertainment, the way it's being disseminated, you got to kind of move with the wave. And Diddy's always kind of seemed real in tune with moving with the wave, but when it comes to Revolt, it's almost seemingly neglected. And now you see this, but him being so quickly to defend her without almost knowing everything that's going on. You hired somebody, but did you really do some proper research yourself to make sure that your Revolt TV, the Black-owned brand that you proudly stand by, is taken care of, right? Because what she's saying makes sense.